Good evening, friends. Thank you for joining Candid Meena every evening to follow what's happening in India and abroad. Thank you for sending me your useful comments and suggestions. If you believe in this channel, do hit the like button, share with friends, and spread the message. Our only mission is to bring you the truth and both sides of the story. Today, Mayur Kalbag is back with us after a long time because he's been rather busy with his assignments. Welcome, Mayur.
Namaskar, Har Har Mahadev, Shambho, Shambho.
Yeah, yeah,
Good to see Meena. Good to see
yeah.
you. Good to see Shiva and Parvati in the background. And hopefully, looking forward to all my family members joining in
Absolutely.
quick and
Yeah,
and enjoying this beautiful interaction.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so what we were thinking of discussing today, Mayur, as I mentioned, is that see why do relatives spell sort of danger for normal people? It's like when you say that, oh, your relatives are coming, you suddenly there's some silence. Even if they're coming to stay there or just coming and staying in a hotel or coming to spend an event at your house, whatever. But the moment it happens, there's a sort of an icy silence sometimes in your family because of certain reasons. And they always say that relatives and fish stink after 3 days.
Wow,
You know,
that was a very interesting one. That came
so
like a bomber, man. Wow.
yet we have to deal with their existence, especially their visits now and then. Some of the occasions which turn our worlds upside down,
Yeah.
especially that of youngsters, because the older ones know how to tackle them better. So it's with this topic in mind that I said that because a lot of people have problems, Mayur. It's almost everybody, as if work pressure is not enough, that you have this kind of pressure as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, can I open my
Please,
thoughts
please, yeah,
with all of you? Uh, Let me, at the outset, firstly welcome all of our viewers and participants, if I can call them so, and love to have them participate with their questions and inputs. But I think, Meena, this is obviously a different topic, right? Because we've always been more, we gravitate towards subjects which are paranormal, stuff which is interesting, but this is different and this is more realistic, I think, है ना, Meena? But when you said that sentence, if our viewers are going to see me suddenly giggling, it's going to because it's a thought which will again come back and it will make me smile. Wow, I haven't heard this. And when you said that, a couple of relatives' images just passed through my mind. Sorry to say. So, but thank God, 3 days is at least that's a good duration. But
yeah.
coming to the mole point, the main point, to all of you, I would say that the purpose, I think, Meena, of us or you looking at this subject is because a lot of youngsters and their
Uh,
career
Mayur,
choices.
I
Yeah.
think they're saying a little disturbance in your end. I think, is it your
Okay. Wait.
speakers or?
No, maybe it's 1 second. Maybe the fan. Okay. Maybe that. That kind of stuff. Now let me see. Is this okay now?
Just,
Because
yeah,
there's
you
no.
continue speaking and then we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll continue. So I think why, Meena, you looked at this topic as something which has a relevance and it's important is because I have seen that not all relatives, I'm sure, Meena, you agree with me. It's not, we can't generalize all. But I could say this that in every family there are a few who could affect the morale and the attitude of youngsters. And let me be more specific. So I know of
Okay,
a
somebody's
few
asking you, can you keep your mic a little closer? Can't hear you well.
Okay, now is it okay? Oh yeah, now it's okay. I can hear my voice. This is okay. Wow.
Much better.
Being at my cousin's place is new, presents new interesting opportunities and challenges. I
Yeah.
never had something so close to my mouth. I'm almost tasting it anyway.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think this is good. And whoever pointed that out, thank you so much because I didn't know
Yeah.
that. Uh,
That's
and I think as
G1.
I just Yeah, I just saw Karthik saying very sensitive and controversial topic, always swept under the rug. I know, in fact, so much is it's swept under the rug that even the rug starts stinking after 3 days, if
Yeah.
I can use Mina's point of view. But coming, but coming to the point is, I can speak for myself, and I've had this thing where certain statements were made when I started doing not so well in my studies. You'll be surprised to know that suddenly those relatives were very happy with me, got gifts, and they kept defending the fact that it's okay if this guy doesn't do well because maybe likes something else. Whereas their children, interestingly, Meena, they were very strict. Okay. And my parents were advised, don't get so strict. Now, this is in hindsight. At that point of time, I was very happy that I have these people who are defending me. Interestingly, at a later point of time, with my guru's blessings, some things happened in my life, and I came up. You do motivational talking. People talk about it, and they were calling me here and there. And I'm not boasting. I'm telling you factually, certain things changed after Kailash, and suddenly the same relatives were speaking toxic. They were not even. I mean, they were not even asking me what I'm doing. Typically, there's a curiosity, that hey, how's this training? How are you finding it? I'm hearing a lot about you. In fact, my father would say that sometimes unknown people are more generous and sincere in complimenting you than known people, quote unquote, my father. And I think that's what I felt to start this discussion on, is that um, I think one of the key things, Meena, is jealousy here. And jealousy creates toxicity, or makes people more toxic because they can't handle the fact that my son, who was academically very scholarly, okay, and I was expecting him to be a doctor, for whatever reasons he's turned out to be something other than a doctor. Fair enough. The son may be happy, but the parents are like, oh, he should have been a doctor and academically good. But this guy, whoever it is, Mayur or whatever, is he was nothing in school. He was almost failing in school. And suddenly today everybody's talking about him. Today in our community magazine, his articles are coming in. And that sometimes the jealousy, makes people like either they stay away, they don't even ask, or it has gone to the extent of in Hindi, वो कहते हैं नजर लगती है.
Oh,
Jealousy turns into nazar. I don't know the English word,
yeah.
but it can even affect the mindset of the person who's doing very well suddenly. So this is how I wanted to start off, Meena, the discussion, that there is a level of there are some people who have these very strong aspects of jealousy and envy which they can't control, and this is specific to kids when they see the kids are doing very well and their kids are not doing so well. So there's that comparison that happens, and it's what creates the toxic feeling. The jealousy is what I feel, and sometimes it has even reached. So this is just the kid and the uncle, right? If you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Like the uncle aunt not feeling happy that the nephew is doing well. And I'm not, to all the viewers, it's not that every uncle is that way. Like I am an uncle to my kids and my niece and nephew. I love them. But I think those who are bereft and they have an absence of spiritual values, Meena. They say, why people say go to satsang, go and listen to people who are wise, spiritually evolved, because they will instill in you these values where they say that even if you feel slightly jealous, you got to control that, bring it down, etc., etc. But there are many who don't, right? And that's where I think that their mind goes on a different tangent into jealousy and etc. This also happens not just with uncle and nephew or niece or aunt, and that way it even happens at the same level, like
Yeah.
somebody's getting a better job. So yeah, that's how I probably do my opening, a
Yeah.
response to what you said.
Yeah. So, there'll always be one person in the family, among relatives, who
Mm,
love to step on your feet, no matter
yeah,
what.
yeah,
And sometimes we shudder, to think if the grown up relative is indeed grown up or what, you
yeah.
know, and however it will never stop them from doing what they do. So here also, as we were discussing earlier, one thing that seems to upset a lot of the relatives is the fact that, see, when you do well, when you're successful,
Mm,
it somehow makes them feel very, very upset. It's as if
yeah,
they have failed in their duties. And what is their
correct.
duty? To make you fail, you know. So very strict
Meena,
there.
you're,
Yeah.
you're you're on a different tangent. I mean, you're like sending a lot of these solid. They're upset because they're not being able to make somebody upset.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
true. Why do you think, Meena, that happens? I mean, I know that I'm supposed to respond, but I'm just asking you or asking all the viewers, why is it that the
See,
same
a lot of,
uncle?
I'll tell you, see, one thing that stems, what this all stems out from is that, your relatives know you very closely.
Hmm,
It's
hmm,
like,
hmm, hmm,
they have a rich back catalog of your personal failures, to draw from when commenting about your life,
hmm,
and
hmm,
their
hmm.
blunt criticism can form some sort of a physical jab,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
in
yeah.
case you're rising one more step, let me pull you down that one step, you
Correct,
know.
correct,
So
correct.
it's because they know you inside out. Perhaps
Yeah,
as a child you were a failure, but suddenly you become a success. Okay,
yeah.
so it's something they can't take. It's too much
Digest.
for them.
Yeah,
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 too
yeah,
much for them
yeah.
to take.
And they
You
say
would
when you
rather you
can't.
prove yourself,
Yeah.
unsuccessful all the time.
So, taking your earlier
Yeah,
one-liner, if they
yeah,
can't digest something so well, that's how the
yeah,
stink happens, isn't it?
yeah, exactly.
So, but the point is, um, see, there is some. So there's one where you see people making sarcastic comments.
Yes, yes,
I don't know if you've experienced that. You'll
yeah,
actually have people making sarcasms or passing sarcastic because they can't keep quiet. But there are those who will be quiet, they'll be silent,
yeah,
and their nazar, the way they look,
yeah,
can also affect
yeah,
that person, which sort of borders into not black magic, but they
yeah.
call that bad nazar, buri nazar. It's there
Mm,
because they're filled up with so much
yeah,
of almost getting angry at how is this person able to achieve
yeah,
so much. And
exactly.
my and through this session, I'm also looking at how now I know that there are some people in my family, or I know a friend and in his family, there are some who are jealous and who cannot see that this friend of mine is doing so well. Suddenly, something has struck gold for him. He has two cars, he's picked up a house. These guys have lost their sleep. These guys are not able to even breathe properly because how? And add to that, the worst is when they see their own child who
Yeah,
was coming all the time first in class is
yeah,
now, with due respect, doing a 9 to 5 job, but nowhere compared to that friend of mine who took the risk and started a business
mm.
and suddenly became huge. So how can we protect? I'm saying, see, Meena, at the end of the day, sometimes if it hits you hard, it hits you hard. Sometimes comments can demoralize the person.
you know
I've seen.
I,
Yeah,
yeah, let me just tell you one incident. Okay, see,
sure, sure, sure.
it is after my marriage that I decided I wanted to do my masters and then
Hmm,
go on to doing my PhD. Okay,
hmm,
so
hmm,
when I started working on my master's degree, someone very close to me said that, see, oh, it's really good but it's tough, and all that. So by the
hmm,
time I finished, and I got a rank despite the fact that I was managing a small child, and
hmm.
I also had my mother-in-law with me at that time,
Right.
and so it was tough. Like, it was doing a lot of things together, and
Hmm.
when I did get that, and then when this relative heard how I had done, the first thing that relative said was, "Oh, now every Tom, Dick, and Harry is doing their master's degree."
Hmm.
Okay. That was the first thing
My
that
God.
came out of her
Hmm.
mouth. And then I knew that, see, this is much beyond, see, what you call envy. There's something much more, very bitter,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
you cannot, rectify. These are psychological
True.
problems that these people have, that
True.
can't be
True. True.
rectified.
True. So is it possible to look at it this way, Meena, that there are some who are at that extreme level
Yeah.
where they literally want you or me to fail, okay?
Yes.
And like literally, it's like a curse that this should happen. That's the extreme, isn't it, Meena?
Yeah.
And the level of toxicity is the highest at that point of time.
Yeah.
Internally, they're ruthless, actually.
Mm.
Like they forget the fact that that this guy is my own nephew, but they can't
Yeah.
see. But there could be others, na Meena. What do you think that who have this general jealousy factor? I've come across those people a lot as well. Like
Yeah.
I'm playing tabla, and then the way they say that, yeah, it was good, but you know what? I think you could have played a little better.
Mm.
I can understand that as a constructive feedback,
Mm.
but the way they say it, it almost sounds like they're not happy with the fact that I'm actually even playing tabla.
Yeah,
So that's a strata of people, Meena, who are not extremely toxic and
yeah.
extremely ruthless, and but then they do have this. My point is, how do we protect ourselves
Mm.
from people like that around us? No,
Exactly, exactly.
and I think one of the things is read one comment which was very beautiful, and it was like, care a damn, just
Mm.
damn it, and just
Yeah,
don't think about it. But to that person who wrote that, I would say it's easier said than done,
yeah.
because
Very difficult. Yeah,
everybody has their own
yeah.
sensitivities, right? Like somebody is like thick skinned like a crocodile, and he's like, kuch bhi farak nahi padta hai because
Mm.
I know my ambition and all. But
Yeah,
that's just maybe 2-3% of people who are like that, especially if you're young.
yeah,
If most of us are sensitive, right? Especially
yeah.
coming from close
Because
relatives.
see, one thing is that Mayur, words can hurt, you know,
Yeah,
and if they
yeah,
refuse to, even if they attack you, it's you feel bad. If they keep quiet for days,
yeah,
following an argument, that's also a form of manipulation, and this
absolutely.
is something that they do very successfully, you know.
True, true.
In fact,
So it's,
Karthik has a good
yeah,
point here.
yeah,
He
yeah,
says, I
yeah.
feel toxicity is expressed through generations. I realized years later that my uncle, who used to vehemently insult me, was insulted when he was younger and of my age.
So he was himself insulted when he was younger
Yeah,
and of
yeah,
his age. So it sort of stays, and
yeah, yeah,
it's like a bully
yeah,
mentality. Because I was bullied, I'm gonna bully somebody else. It's almost like it's
yeah,
like you're giving it back. Like
yeah,
mujhe itna taklif ho gaya, so somebody has to. Could be.
yeah,
And but Meera, I know that I always bring this aspect, but haven't you seen that people who practice some form of yoga, some form of meditation, some form of spirituality, who are maybe, genuinely God believing, genuinely, right? Because there are who are genuine, but not so much. I mean, they just go, they'll do their bhajans, they'll be more keen on knowing how well they sang instead of really singing it as a surrender to the God or the goddess. But if that is not there, Meena, in people, sorry, um, I think that is what makes people reach levels where they make such statements, where they make caustic statements. In fact, you made a good point. The worst happens when a person does well and there are five relatives and one of them just keeps quiet, which is the worst. It's almost like it's too obvious that he's the only one who doesn't feel comfortable even to to offer
say,
a, a,
yeah,
a sentence of praise,
yeah, yeah,
because that feeling of how come is so much that they don't even know, because it comes out very pretentious, so they rather keep quiet, and it's very obvious. And aise log hai, Meena, quite a few. My point is, Meena, as we're going forward, is we all go through this. We all have our uncles. The first thing I'd say to me is, am I that uncle who's going to be toxic? Am I that uncle who's going to feel tempted to say that, oh, my son is okay, but my son's friend is doing very well, must have copied, must have done some bribing and gotten. I will hate myself for that. And I think that foundation of thought process, Meena, where I hate myself for even getting tempted into jealousy, getting tempted into toxic thinking. I think if I can develop that maturity, Meena, I think that probably is the way forward. That's for people who are susceptible, because we
yeah,
are all people, we are also relatives to somebody else, Meena.
yeah.
Have you realized? Like, we talk about relatives, but aren't we ourselves relatives to someone else?
No,
And the
but
last thing I, Hmm,
when you speak, you may be a relative, but when you speak, you're guarding
yeah,
your words.
yeah,
You see, it's not so difficult. Now, if you don't
hmm,
like someone, just keep quiet. That's it.
correct,
You
correct,
know,
correct.
but why hurt?
Yeah,
So
correct,
Nisha
absolutely.
has a very good point. She says
Yeah,
sometimes even favoritism of certain kids among relatives is also very demotivating for the kids who are
absolutely.
not liked. Can't
Yeah.
understand why even parents of those kids do not correct the mean relatives.
Absolutely. In fact, just to add to what Nisha says, you'll be surprised to know that when me and my sister Priyanka, we were growing up together, and certain statements would be made between the, like, differentiating the both of us,
Mm,
and by people who are very close, and it would be very natural for them.
mm,
Ki, oh, he's this way and she's that way. And when you look back, you're like, what's wrong with these people? How shallow are they thinking on
yeah,
certain things which are so shallow? And I think that is probably what Nisha is alluding to, that that comparison between kids, not realizing that it has an impact on their morale.
Yeah.
Even, can I say this to you, Meena? Aren't we also relatives to our own kids?
Mm.
Technically, aren't we
Yeah.
related
Yeah.
to our kids as parents?
Mm.
And we sometimes ourselves, we don't get jealous, obviously, but we compare.
Mm.
So it's now not about jealousy. It's about the fact that a mother will keep nagging the kid,
Yeah.
keep scolding the kid, saying that, look at that boy, he's
Mm-hmm.
doing so well, and look at you
Mm.
idiot, you don't even sit and you study. Ta, 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 ta. And if this continues, can you imagine the kind of impact it'll have on the
Yeah.
boy?
Yeah.
Are, has that mother even thought about the other attributes that her
Mm.
own son has? Maybe that other boy is scoring very high in mathematics and all, but my son is probably more interested in maybe clay work.
Mm.
Maybe he's more keen on, maybe through YouTube he watches certain things which
Mm.
are to do with rocket science, but the mother is not really looking at that. So that also has an impact, Meena. So
Yeah.
maybe it's going in a beautiful, it's evolving, but even
Yeah.
relatives who are related to your own kids, like your parents, even parents need to be a little cautious before they make statements which can demoralize. I've seen a distant cousin of mine who, just because of the pressure, had to
Mm.
take up some form of in education. Okay, just because there was this pressure from the father.
Mm.
He didn't like it, but he took it up, a field of education, and he finally failed
Mm.
after years of trying. And
Mm.
the impact it had on his mind was very bad,
Yeah.
because he became a recluse. Because when you keep failing, no,
Mm.
uh, and you have to face your cousins, and you're not that they will ask anything, but obviously you develop a complex,
Yeah.
and it's only because of the pressure that he felt from his father. And that also is connected to our topic today, Meena. It's not
Absolutely.
just uncles, aunts. It's when you're related to somebody and the person is close to you, either as a son, daughter, or niece, nephew, or your brother, or your uncle. I think important thing is to be able to control those temptations to feel
Yeah.
jealousy, Meena.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I think
Yeah.
Anuradha has joined us, so let me just add her in. Hi,
Yeah.
Anuradha.
Hello, hi
Hi,
Anita.
Anuradha.
Hello, Mayur. Yeah,
Har Har
lovely
Mahadev.
to Har Har Mahadev. Lovely to see you, and I hope I'm audible.
Yes,
Very
very
much.
much.
Okay, so I've just seen the chat box. It's being flooded with, comments are coming in,
Yeah.
every second, which
Yeah.
just shows that this is a topic that obviously everybody feels so very deeply about. And each of the points made is so very valid. So, as Meena, you said, from belittling comments to bitterness, and Mayur, you shared about, people who suddenly become silent. There are some who take it out in sarcasm. There are some who, that buri nazar, which can be very very powerful. So I think most of us in families, whether joint or nuclear, we've
Mm.
we've seen this, whether extended or immediate family. I think one thing that becomes a little difficult is, in India often, traditionally we are told it's family, ne rehne do, don't say anything. Whereas, if it's with your colleague or your friend or your neighbor, you can fight it out. But within family, even if it's an aunt or an uncle who's being, difficult or sarcastic, nahi nahi, wo tumhara bura nahi chahenge, kuch mat bolo, because, and it just becomes so difficult, and people end up internalizing it, and then maybe later on, as adults, taking it out on somebody else. Now,
True.
there I just have a, I have a slight difference of opinion. I understand that we're all creatures of emotion. At times, I may react because of a pain that I've internalized. Okay. So that may happen. But if I choose to do that as a pattern, right, and I choose to then say it's because I was hurt when I was a kid, I'm sorry, if I'm an adult, I'm a parent, or I'm a mother, mother in law, whatever, I don't think that excuses me, I mean, it may explain my behavior, but if I'm smart enough to rationalize that because of my pain I'm doing this, then I'm smart enough to get to therapy and get sorted.
Sure.
So I have a slight I can understand, because I'm a teacher, bullying we see. Children may not be able to control their behavior, right? Somebody who has been bullied may become a bully in school or
Yeah.
in
Absolutely.
class. But as an adult, especially if I'm a parent or a mother in law you know, then I have a
Yeah.
duty to be unbiased.
Yeah.
But can I
You
just
know,
add something here,
yeah,
Sujata, if you don't mind?
yeah,
And I have a
yeah,
slightly beautiful difference of opinion to you
yeah,
as well.
yeah,
And I love when there are positive differences of opinion. I hope that's cool with you. You know, it's fun.
absolutely.
And it's not really a difference. I'm just pulling your leg. I just want to add value to your point. Is in fact, Meena alluded to that, which
Mm.
is that jealousy doesn't have an age factor.
Yeah.
Jealousy and such emotions, they don't have an age factor. I have seen people who's 75 years old,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I could get the stench of vicious jealousy from that person. Okay, and that too outside the temple precinct,
Mm.
just because he couldn't see the fact that X person, because
Mm.
it'll be always me, me, me. So X person
Mm.
is able to sing and this, and I can see it, and
Mm.
probably because he's connecting that to the fact that his own grandchild is not doing so well.
Yeah.
So my point is this, Sujata. Let me finish. My point is this: you're absolutely right. Technically, as we grow, as we evolve, we're supposed to be mature. But please understand, maturity in terms of handling business, maturity in handling general life, bank account, okay, is okay. But spiritual maturity is the
Yeah.
problem, na,
Very different.
Sujata?
Yeah. Very different.
See, today you are spiritually
Anuradha.
evolved,
Yeah.
which is why you're able to, sorry, Anuradha, you're able to understand where I can understand where you're coming from. Because people who meditate, ultimately, they don't meditate to levitate above the ground. When they meditate, they end up in self analysis.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they think that, why, what's wrong with me? I mean, I said something that like that to him. So that is not happening when you're not spiritual. You're overlooking it. You're allowing such emotions of jealousy coming in, and you justify, because then you move on. Somebody sings well and the person says, uncle, so how is it? "Ah, it was okay, it was okay,
yeah,
it was okay." I mean,
I know.
when I heard it, because this is actually happening. That girl sang fantastic. Now, if this man is justifying by saying in his mind, compared to one of the top singers in India,
Yeah.
she was
Mhm.
okay. So technically, he's justifying that she's
Yeah.
okay. But that is his jealousy, and he
Yeah.
must be 70. You
So
know what
I
I'm saying?
agree. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that
agree
way. So it's just
completely,
the evolution
Mayur.
of maturity is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I get that completely. So jealousy or these kind of feelings have no age.
Yeah.
That said, I completely agree with you. Uh, I may feel something, I may feel angry, I may feel enraged, but what is it that I do about that? As
Correct.
I said,
Exactly.
as a one off, I may take it out, I may get upset, I may get angry.
Yeah.
But if I'm doing it repeatedly, Mayur, then
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really need to reflect what am I doing as a parent or an elder, isn't it? I
Absolutely.
mean,
No, that's the point, Anuradha. Ki, if today there are these centers of yoga and meditation, what are they doing? Is they're doing what you're saying, which should be done, because people are not thinking like that, Anuradha. You're getting what I'm saying. Now,
yeah, yeah,
why am I thinking today? I'm in the profession like an author. Okay, I'm an author apart from whatever I do. As an example, I'm giving you, Meena. Now, I want myself to become to the level of J.K. Rowling's. Okay, J.K. Rowling's is doing she's like a legend, right? But there are many authors in India who are far ahead of me. There's an Amish, and there are so many, and I could also fall into that trap of being jealous, and I do feel the temptation. Ki, कुछ नहीं यार, चेतन guy कुछ नहीं है. There are people who say, "अरे, your writing is brilliant." They are bullshit. कुछ नहीं है. अरे, what do you mean कुछ? So I have to have the maturity to say that.
yeah,
How do you say कुछ नहीं? Because the guy is doing so well. अगर कुछ नहीं है, then how are his books selling?
yeah,
Now there
In
may
fact,
be, see,
in fact,
yeah, sorry,
Mayur, if you
yeah,
use that feeling, the feeling of envy, to make
mm,
yourself even better than him,
yeah,
that is that is positive.
yeah. No,
Positive.
yeah, you're right. What I'm saying is, if I criticize
Yeah.
that person, that is not right. So I can
Yeah.
use his success as a
Exactly.
motivation for me.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, so Anuradha, you understand where I'm coming from. I'm actually agreeing with you on this, that I have to do that, get that bitterness out, because initially it's trying to infect my mind. It's tempting me to say that, हाँ यार वो तो कुछ तो किया रहेगा, that time was good. Actually, he's not a very good author. But then I end up not growing, like Meena, you were saying. I end
Yeah.
up just being where I am and only
Mm.
criticizing. So, in fact, a good takeaway from what Meena you said is that envy can be actually a wonderful catalyst,
Yeah.
whereas jealousy can be a destructor. I mean, if I can just
See, another,
paraphrase what you said.
yeah, another very important point, Mayur, see, that I found over
Hmm.
the years of my experience is that, you know, some of them have the tendency, you know, just because they want to make you feel small, they will
Hmm.
start lying about you. Okay. And when these lies are, exposed, they will further go on to further lies. You see,
Okay.
anything to save their, skin.
Yes.
You see,
My
and what
God.
happens is in the process you are being isolated further and further and further. But what
Hmm.
happens is the genuine ones will always recognize you, for your
Correct.
qualities. Okay.
Correct.
But the ones
Correct.
who want to believe, those who are against you, will
Hmm.
start believing these all these lies,
Yes.
and those will
Yes.
go
Yes.
around spreading, like
Yeah.
a sort of weeds growing.
Absolutely, absolutely. But tell me something, Meena, and even Anuradha, I'd love to listen to you and on behalf of all the viewers, is how do you deal with sometimes the barrage of the untruths that get spread,
Exactly.
especially when you come into the public domain.
Yeah.
Maybe with the blessings, I will be more in the public domain as an author, and I might have to face, you never know, when in the public domain people
Mm.
can do what they want to do, and I'm okay
Yeah.
because I'm a
Yeah.
guru's protection. But generally, as an answer which can apply to a lot of people who are watching, because Anuradha is also experienced,
No,
and Meena,
Meena, I think will answer this beautifully
yeah, yeah.
because she is in the public domain and she's
You're right.
also, she faces a lot of. Meena is somebody, one of those rare people in media who's very unbiased. She has
Yeah, yeah,
no
yeah,
qualms. She's not left or right, or she has
yeah,
no qualms calling out
yeah,
anybody.
yeah,
And she stands for India first. And she's made her
yeah.
political. She has certain political views. Which she's put out there in the open, and I think
Correct.
that's the best way to be, rather than mask it behind some
Yeah.
neutrality.
Though it's
But
though it's
she
so
gets
tough.
trolled. She gets trolled very badly. I don't know how she handles it.
In fact,
I'm
even I'm now more keen to know, Meena, seriously, because it will apply to me personally as well.
Yeah.
Because this is also, they may not be relatives, but they are, as human beings, we are all related in some way or the other, right? We are all
Yeah. Yeah.
connected. So, would love to know your thoughts, Meena, on this,
See, one
actually.
thing we have to realize, Anu and Mayur, is that, see, success is not easy. Okay. Success is the most difficult thing in the world, because as you succeed, the number of friends or relatives who are standing with you become so few that you can count them in your fingers. Okay. And as you say, see, when they criticize you, sometimes they become downright mean. But what
Yep.
happens is, you know yourself so well that it's time that you stop explaining everything to
Hmm.
everybody.
Hmm.
And then what
Hmm.
happens is your work itself stands for what you're doing. Now, in the case Anusi, in our case, see, when you're talking about unbiased news, all of them. In fact, today I was listening to India Today. Some old man from India Today comes and talks about Aryan Khan, Shah Rukh Khan, and you won't believe it. The whole video has Shah Rukh Khan, Aryan Khan, photos going like a party behind him. Okay. And he is saying that all these people are wrong, Samir Wankade and all that. Now I'm just, waiting to give it to him. Now, see, these kind of people will do anything to make you feel small. But you and I
Hmm.
know they are lying through their teeth. So nobody will trust them, Anu. The
Hmm.
people, there'll be fewer people with you, but that's enough for you. You know,
Yeah. So I
That's
think
true.
that maturity, I think,
Yeah.
Mayur, I mean, I am not in the public domain, but I'm just thinking as Meena is talking, that confidence within oneself or confidence in one's work,
Sure.
and what one has to be very, very, not arrogant, but has to be very strong. You have to be
Absolutely.
very strongly centered. And at the end of the day, we are all, emotional beings. We're creatures of emotion, so a spiritual grounding definitely does
see,
help.
here
You
also,
wear a
Anu,
kavat.
yeah, here
Yes.
also, Anu, I'll tell you one thing. See, I remember Mayur said something in one of his sessions. I like that so much. Somebody was talking, and he said that, see, he wanted to correct them, but in a very diplomatic way. So what he said was that, how much of time in a day do you
Yes.
devote to spiritual, sort of,
I remember.
communion
Yes.
with God, and that perhaps that person does not at all communicate. You see, and that's where the fault is,
Hmm.
because when Mayur said, see, you're meditating, you're actually looking inwards. You're looking
Yes.
at yourself, taking out the faults, throwing it away, getting better, trying to evolve,
Yes.
Yes,
trying to throw all those dirty things out of your body,
Yes.
absolutely.
everything. So
So
that's
as
something valuable.
Yeah,
yes,
thank.
Mayur, as you said, the person was outside the temple. So there comes the difference between spirituality and,
Just
outward display of
yeah,
religion, right?
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
People, many of the older people who kind of behave in not very nice ways are also people who go to the temple twice a day. I'm not saying, you know what I'm where I'm coming from.
Yep,
So that deep
yep,
spirituality has nothing to do with
yeah.
that outward show of in fact, there are these jokes where people say that you go to a religious gathering and you're saying, oh, look at that person's diamond ring, and are you know what I mean, right? So
Yeah,
you're defeating, I mean, on a lighter note, of course. And
true.
and as Meena said, meditation, I mean, it's not about controlling your thoughts, but it's about not letting your thoughts control you. So
yeah,
Yep,
so I think that spiritual grounding is very important. And
yeah,
I know that because I lacked that self confidence, or that's the spiritual grounding I had, but because I lacked that self confidence, there are times when that kind of negativity can make you react in ways that are not very nice,
true,
and
true.
one has to keep learning, and one has to keep improving. So yeah, that's all
Correct.
that I wanted to share.
Yeah, and just to take it a little forward, I've always tried to affirm to myself that though it sounds arrogant, but I don't mind being understood that way. Is respect people not by age, but by the behavior. Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, if
Yes.
a person is 10 years old and the person is so that child is so you come across some children who are so well behaved. The samskars you can see the very there's the fragrance of maturity which I wouldn't even see in a 20-year-old, and I respect that child. It doesn't mean that I go and touch his feet and stuff, because that's not what I meant. Internal respect. And I've come across people who are, like I said, in their 70s, 80s, and I've been surprised by the way they've gossiped and behind somebody's back. And I'm like, you're 70 year,
yeah,
you're supposed to tell others not to do that, and
exactly.
you get caught into that, you get pulled into that. So this is just what I wanted to say, in terms of
Devanush is asking
age.
you, Mayur.
Yeah,
Devanushi,
Yeah, my question is, often we see most religious, God fearing people are nasty and vindictive. Why?
often we see most religious, God fearing people are nasty and vindictive. Okay, so first and foremost, I'll just very quickly say this is your assumption, not mine. Okay, and I give you, I mean, it's your complete freedom to say or proclaim what you. I think it's to Devanushi, is that right? Devanushi, I
Yeah,
can only
yeah,
say that God fearing um, or God believing has to also constitute God meditating. And if a person is God fearing, outwardly, like Anuradha was saying, outwardly, the tendency, Devanushi, is there for the person. I wouldn't use the nasty word called nasty, but I would say there is a tendency for the person to get tempted into these emotions of jealousy, anger, upset, hate. कि उसका कैसे उसका कपड़ा मेरे कपड़े से सफेद कैसा types. So I would only
here,
add one thing.
Mayur,
Yeah,
Mayur, I would have another point as well.
yeah.
Here, she would be indicating people who are the ones who do ritual.
Hmm,
See, people who do rituals are seen as religious. Actually, they're not religious. They're just
hmm,
doing the same thing again and again.
hmm, hmm.
Spirituality and ritualism is totally different.
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
also
yeah.
as Mayur said, again, I don't know, I'm just thinking, I don't fear God. I
Mm.
mean, why would
Yeah,
I fear God? I
correct.
respect, and I believe,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I worship, but I don't know, God fear, I don't know, I'm not that knowledgeable, but I've never been scared of God. Why? I don't know, maybe
yeah,
that's my
yeah,
take,
Yeah,
yeah.
you know
I can only put a final statement, Meena, if you allow me to
yeah,
respond to
yeah,
what
please.
Devanushi said
Yeah,
is,
yeah, yeah.
see, Devanushi, just understand one thing, that um, people who are God fearing, as you said, or God believing, if they don't transition or take that further into meditation, into mantra japa, into spirit, like Meena said, into spiritualism, okay, some sort, then there is a tendency for that person to be only on the outside. Okay,
Yeah.
Devanush, this is what I feel, and that's why they are not able to control their tone of communication. They could get a little rude or nasty, as you said, because
Yeah.
if you're spiritual, what I feel what happens is you start facing yourself.
Mm,
You start actually scolding yourself that this is not the
mm,
right way I should have done. But वो बात ही नहीं होती है ना खुद के
huh,
साथ.
huh.
That spiritual introspection is not happening, and that's why I feel, Anuradha, that those who have a guru in their life, okay, and I'm not saying guru only from my where I come from as a Hindu. I have a guru not only that way. I'm not bringing religion here. I'm saying a mentor. Don't we use a guru in a corporate way, management guru? So if so, my message to everybody and to me is, find a mentor. Do you know something? I have a mentor called Vineet Bhatnagar. He's a gold medalist from IIM Ahmedabad, and he's a CEO. And I learned humility when I was sitting with him in his cabin many years ago, and we were discussing about some training I wanted to do. He also is my first boss. And when an auntie, Maushi we call, came with a tray and cup and tea in the office, he just stopped talking to me in a very polite way, looked at that auntie and spoke in this Marathi, Maushi, kashi ahat, how are you? And I was like, wow, we're talking about something important. You don't want to talk about it because you want to, because she's just come in.
Devote
That
time to
is,
others.
yeah, that is spirituality.
Mm,
So he may be going to God, and he does. But what is more important is he has transformed that God fearing or God believing into God meditating. And I
yeah.
think those people are less, they have less tendency to get nasty to people.
Yeah. Soumil is
Mayur
asking
and
you.
Meena, I'll exit. I think there are lots and lots of people who have such valuable comments and contributions. Thank you
Yeah.
so
Sure.
much.
Sure.
I
Thank
think
you.
there's a,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Anuradha. There's a nice one from Somil. I think if you can read
Yeah,
that
that's
out.
what I wanted to. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I
Most
saw
of
that earlier as well.
adopted kids go through the kind of hell in family more than normal kids. Even I have faced all this that Mayurji has discussed. What is your opinion, Mayur? Yeah,
You
just
know,
before you start, Mayur,
yeah,
just
yeah,
one
sure,
point. See,
sure.
unhealthy parents, okay, will always pit their children against one another or against other members of the family. It's like they set up these scenarios, where they create this kind of jealousy and resentment, and it makes children feel so insecure.
Yeah, yeah. So, can I just add something to this, Meena,
Please,
as a
please, please.
response to what
No,
Somil
it's
said?
actually your
You know,
response. Yeah.
yeah, sure. So, Somil, you know what? Um, I'd start by saying that um, parents sometimes do not come to the defense of an adopted kid. I'm going specific to your question, only to restore supposedly the outer relations that they have. So there's a father, and he sees that his uh, his cousin brother is making some statement. Hypothetically speaking, the father sees his cousin making a statement which is maybe a little critical or sarcastic to this adopted son. The father realizes that the son is getting affected. That cousin of his has no idea, or he's absolutely blatant. The father has to take the step and say, what are you talking about? Either you take him to the corner, or in front of everybody. That reprimand that the father has to do is very important to make the son believe that I have my parents. This is especially in terms of adopted kids, because they
Yeah.
already, because there are some who don't tell the kid, right, which is cool, and there are some who tell the kid that they adopted. But if they're faced with such situations where they get insulted, the least they need, at least they need, is
Mm,
the outer courageous initiative to protect the kid,
mm,
which some parents don't,
mm,
because they don't want to take the panga with
mm.
others. And I think parents should stand up, especially for those kids who may be vulnerable to getting insulted. And this is going beyond, Meena. It's not just for adopted kids, which is what I responded to, but even generally kids. See, there could be a kid who may be a little weak
Mm.
and he cannot run. The same guy would later on probably win a 100-meter race. That's a different thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at that age, and then some people making comments, hey, you come on here, put him in some gym. But maybe the kid has some health issue.
Yeah.
The father, the mother should stand up.
Yeah.
because what matters more is the kid and not restoring relations with others, is where I come from. Because if the kid feels the protection of the parents, then nothing will puncture that kid's morale and confidence, is what I feel.
Yeah. Also, another important point, Karthik, that I wanted, Mayur, that I wanted to talk about is, see,
Sure.
there are many stages in one's life where children get upset, and they
Mm,
want to express these feelings to their parents or some relatives.
yeah.
Now, if the parents or the relatives are manipulated, what they do
Mm,
is they turn the tables on them, and say that, see, there's something wrong with you. And that's why, you get upset all the time. So you are doing things the wrong way, and hence you get hurt all the time. So this is
true.
another thing that, a lot of the people suffer from,
Yeah.
and since it's a close family or just relatives, you think that they are the people who are right, like
Correct.
teachers.
Correct.
So there's a
Correct.
very big problem there.
So just one sentence I'll say, Meena, that as a parent, I'm a parent of my two babies, as a father, I think one of the things that I need to do more is sit with them and listen and
Mm.
observe.
Yeah.
I think parents don't spend a lot of time with the kids.
Yeah.
What a lot of us do is we'll take them out for dinner, okay, and that becomes a parameter for us to show our love. But
Yeah.
when it comes to listening to them, when it comes to analyzing why maybe a son is not performing well in a particular subject,
Yeah.
we end up just saying that something is wrong with you,
Yeah.
you need to study. But what is it that is wrong?
Mhm.
Is there anything really wrong, or is there a change in the way that the subject has been taught?
Yeah.
When I was studying in school, I wasn't doing so well in mathematics. Still, my father put me in tuitions, and the moment I was put in a particular tuitions, I remember Patil, used to be Patil sir, and suddenly my marks went up.
Yeah.
So
Same thing with
there was nothing
Jaydev.
wrong
Yeah.
with me. So there was nothing wrong with me. It was how that sir was
Taught you.
very good in understanding how to teach Mayur.
Yeah.
So he made it very playful because I was finicky,
Mm.
and thankfully my father realized that. That's the point I'm making. If my father would have said you are a dumb guy only, then I would have I would have felt I'm the dumb guy even till now. I'm a little, but not too much. But then because my father put me in the right, he understood that maybe Mayur, is sensitive, he's finicky. We'll put him in private tuitions, and fortunately, the same in maths. I
In
was
fact,
scoring extremely high marks.
Mayur, the same thing happened with Jaydev.
Uh,
He was scoring so badly in maths in school. Then finally I said, no, no, this has to change because he was getting really bad marks. And then I put him on to private tuitions with a very good teacher,
yeah,
and like you said, he started getting full marks, you know.
yeah. So
So there's a
it's
question
how.
for you, I think.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's a
There's a
question.
question for you. How do
Yeah.
we protect ourselves from their mean jealousy, especially when it's dangerous for us in many ways? Please suggest, Mayur.
Okay, both of us. So let me start first.
You're the
You
boss.
yeah, no, no, no. I'm the boss, but you're the best. So let me start, and you can end it up from your point of view.
Yeah.
I think what I can say is that the way to protect ourselves is to develop slowly and steadily self-awareness about who we are, about our strengths, even about our weaknesses. If somebody says you're weak in this, and you say, "Yeah, I know that. I'm working on it. Don't worry, chill. You go and have your ice cream. Let me have my ice cream." You know,
Yeah.
Hey, you're a donkey. Yes,
Yeah, that's
thank
a good
God. I mean,
attitude. Yeah.
I already know I'm a donkey, but at least I'm a donkey. I do my
Yeah.
work. In my mind, I'll say, you have to check what you are
Yeah.
internally. Maybe I'm a little aggressive, so I'll say that, but that strength has to come. I think
Yeah.
that comes when I'm aware of my strong points, my values, my weak points, and I'm working on it. I think that shapes up what we call is a self-confidence. Along with it, I also feel to protect ourselves from other people's mean jealousy is to really have or surround ourselves, Meena, with genuine well-wishers.
Yeah.
Today as I speak with you, you, I know for sure, how our candid Meena is in fact catalyzing my growth. uh, I've told you, right, Meena?
Yeah.
Like people watching and listening to our thoughts. But yeah, you are there because I know you are there and you're spiritual. So like you, I have a few core people, okay? They will go out of their way to protect me, and they will tell me when I've done something wrong. They'll say, "Kya kar raha hai tu? Pagal hai kya?" And I'll
Yeah.
say, "Thank you for telling me."
Yeah.
But they will always protect me from other
Mm.
people's jealousy,
Yes.
because my conversations with them will
Mm.
always be filled with positive energy.
Yeah.
because even when a well-wisher criticizes you,
Mm.
it's actually a constructive criticism. It's for
Yes.
your good, and it'll protect us from the mean jealousies that I think the person was asking that question. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can probably add if you want to.
Yeah. No, it's fine. So
Okay.
we'll move on to something else. Hema said, when people give more importance and are attached to material things, they fail to recognize the importance of relationships.
Yeah, true,
Yeah.
true. I
Karthik
think
says,
it's yeah,
yeah, when we are of impressionable age, we have no choice. This is the main thing. We depend on our guardians or our parents. The problem is when we grow up and it all comes back, we feel like we are victims. Now, here, an important point, Mayur, that I wanted to say.
yeah,
See, there are some weapons that these
mm,
people use, to make you, to sort of intimidate you, you know.
mm,
So,
mm,
especially when you're children. So, these could be, various things like threats. It could be harsh language. It could be violence, physical intimidation, other
yeah,
forms of domestic violence. You see, so for example, if a father makes the mother scared, so every time this boy or girl annoys him, he will take it out on the mother. So these are other things that also
sure,
frighten a child and make him feel insecure and go by what his father or whoever the parent is at that time saying,
yeah.
and siding him in what is wrong.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that takes me back to what Karthik was talking about. Is parenthood is so therefore vital, isn't it, Meena?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
that is even before school starts, even before the teachers come into the child's life. The teaching actually starts from the time the kid is a small little kid just about to walk. The sanskars that he gets or she gets. So if parents, again, at the risk of being a little repetitive, but if there is a spiritual injection in many of us, even as youngsters, that makes us grow more holistically. We
yeah,
evolve. Our maturity is therefore not just stuck to just material things. Our maturity goes towards spiritual things, and that helps us to manage relationships, beginning with our own child.
yeah,
Like for example, I told you a father does not even realize that the son is not happy with becoming a doctor, but
yeah,
because
yeah,
the father is a doctor, he's just pushing the son. And what kind of parenthood is that?
mm,
Like when you know that the son is more keen on cricket
yeah,
and he's playing really well, you
mm,
still pull him out and
mm,
you push him, you pay donations and you make him a
mm,
doctor. Imagine what kind of stress that person is going through here. And
yeah,
will he be a very happy doctor?
yeah,
So, and that I think goes back to parenthood.
mm,
I think as fathers and mothers, we need to really take a step back and understand that we should start understanding our kids,
mm,
and become the winds beneath their wings to help them really fly in the direction that they want to.
yeah,
And today, that's why counselors have a role, Meena, in our life today, whether we like it or not.
yeah,
Because parents, unfortunately, are so busy with their 9 to 5s and making money that they don't have the time to
yeah,
counsel their own children.
yeah,
And I guess, like all of us, including me, we have to keep, pinching ourselves and saying we have to spend more time.
mm,
So when I go out with my kids, sometimes I take Aryan out, I talk to him, and I more than talking, I listen to him and I make him understand that I'm okay if you're doing well in one subject, you're okay in the other. I'm okay, chill.
mm,
But then I slowly ask, is there some reason why you love mathematics so much more? Yeah?
mm, mm,
So he opens up. If he
mm,
doesn't open up, how will I know him? Because then I'll only end up with my ego saying that
yeah,
I know my son very well.
yeah.
That's so. Yeah, those are the things I wanted to
See,
highlight.
another thing very important, Mayur, is another point that relatives or parents use, to make the child sort of helpless, and that
Yeah,
is, taking them on a guilt trip. You know, I may
yeah,
have sacrificed so much for you. I've done these
yeah,
things for you, and yet you do not listen to me. You continue on
yeah,
your bad ways or your good ways or whatever. So half the time when the parent is trying to brainwash the child
mm-hmm.
into
Mm,
thinking that their way of life was correct and that these
mm,
kids should listen exactly to them and do exactly
yeah,
what they say, that is
yeah.
another point, Mayur, where
I know.
children suffer a lot.
Absolutely. Imagine the weight they're carrying of the parents saying that all this I've taken a bank loan for you, I've done
Yeah,
this for you, and what am I getting in return?
yeah,
The stress is, and that's one of the reasons, Meena, kids go out.
yeah,
and explore other things, if you know what I'm saying.
mm,
Friends,
mm,
drugs, drinks,
mm.
because they, what do they do when they come back home? Of course,
Mm.
they're not doing well, but they
Yeah,
need a solution. They don't need to be accused.
yeah.
And it happens a lot of times. I've done so much for you. I've done so much for you. Arre, but the child is saying, did I ask you to do that? You are trying to fulfill your dream through me.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you could not be a doctor. You're pushing me to be a doctor.
Yeah,
And because I'm not able to, you're trying to tell me I did so much for you. I
yeah,
mean, this is what kind of selfishness from a parent, isn't it? And it affects all of us. Huh? There's a tendency, like, I'm being very honest. But if we don't hold back and we don't scold ourselves, "Ki, that's not right. I should not be telling Aryan, "Oh, I did this for you. I did this. Arey Baba." No, the real grace is
mm,
that you don't tell anything. And there are
yeah,
parents who are also that way.
yeah.
The child grows up and later realizes the
Yeah,
hardships
exactly.
that the father took.
Yeah.
That also is there.
Another point I'll tell you, just an incident that happened. See, basically, see, people are different natured. There are people who don't care about gossip at all. They just immerse
Hmm.
themselves in work and
Hmm.
continue and grow bigger that way. There was this person who constantly, throughout my life used to somehow try to, niggle and do things about me. And I see, being a journalist, I used to be so busy with all my work and all that. And, see, the whole life went that way. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, as we grow older, you know, someone said, why don't, to that person, why don't you
Hmm.
patch up and all that and make up and all that? What was her answer? Her
Hmm.
answer was, I don't want to start it all over again, the pain. When it was completely one sided, you know, you
Yeah.
never retaliated, you never gave them in the same coin, you minded your own business, yet see the
Yeah.
envy, the anger,
Yeah.
and
The-
how crouched up they have become,
my
and what
God.
have they become in this so many years of life.
Absolutely, absolutely. On a personal note, I sometimes do come across these people who are like that. The ego is so high that they don't want to bend down. They know they've made a mistake, but they don't want to say sorry. There
Yeah,
are people that way. They live for years, huh? Um, just because they can't say sorry. The ego is
yeah,
so much, and again, that's because they're bereft of the spirituality which gives them the
yes.
strength to say sorry.
Mm.
And uh, I find that such people, unfortunately, as they age, Namina, they become more and more irritating. Yeah, they become more and more, seriously, they become
Nobody can
they become
tolerate them.
so,
Yes,
yeah, they become
yes.
very dry.
It's like they put themselves in an ivory tower.
Yeah, and so they think they're in the ivory tower. They're not. That's the illusion. And
Yeah,
after 3 days, that ivory
yeah,
tower starts stinking as well.
yes, yeah. Also, see,
Mm.
another very, important point that people should understand is that, see, money comes and goes, position comes and goes,
Yeah.
relationships continue. So even a person who's very rich and you adore him for his wealth,
Mm.
when there comes a time when he falls. At that time,
Yeah.
you leave him, you join somebody else. That sort of thing never works,
Yep.
because
Yep.
see,
Absolutely.
just latching on to people because of certain qualities of you that you think are important, that
Mm.
also doesn't work. I've seen over the years, you see, we see people who were so haughty, so arrogant because of their wealth and their
Yeah.
position, and when at that time they would enjoy the what you call the goodwill of all the relatives, but the
Correct.
moment they fall down, everybody has discarded them.
True.
So the same
True.
people who used to talk very good about them only talk bad things. So it's,
Absolutely.
see, they are not the thermometer to measure ourselves. This is something very
Mm.
important that we need to conclude, Mayur, that, see,
Yeah.
relatives or people who constantly, are negative factors in our life are
Yeah.
not the thermometers of our life.
Absolutely.
We have to
There's
measure ourselves
beautiful.
through our own. Yeah. Go
Yeah,
ahead,
yeah,
please.
absolutely. Well, there's a beautiful proverb which I use sometimes, and probably relevant to what you said is, they say that it's nice to be important, yeah, but it's more important to be nice.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we lose track and we try to be important. Important doesn't mean we want the prestige, we want the bow.
Yeah.
Oh wow. And we forget that that is not as important as being important to be nice. Being
Absolutely.
nice means what? Be humble, be
Yeah.
respectful. And if you feel that tendency to be jealous, then control that and decimate that, destroy that,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that is also part of spirituality. See,
Yeah.
you can, everything is not about preventing, no, Meena.
Mm.
Sometimes you have to cure it. So
Yeah.
when, like, I can't prevent fever, but I can cure fever. Jealousy is an emotion that will come.
Yeah.
In fact, envy it starts with, and then if you're not able to allow it, or if you allow it to go, sorry, into jealousy,
Mm.
then the behavior changes.
Yeah.
In fact, people who speak ill about other people,
Mm.
okay, they themselves start getting disliked by a lot of people,
Yes.
you know, and over a period of time, they
Mm.
themselves find themselves alone,
Yeah. Absolutely.
because nicety is the beautiful, the most amazing bonding
Mm.
glue, I feel. And nicety doesn't mean that you lower your guard and you know, walk with a limp and all. Nicety means you maintain your self respect,
Yeah.
but you also respect others. You know,
Yeah.
if somebody calls you names, don't be too nice as well, you know, Meena, and say, okay, Baba, whatever you say. No, no, no. You stand like a cobra and you
Yeah.
say, Baba, what do you mean by that?
Mm.
That is also being nice, being
Yeah.
firm, being polite, being respectful. So, yeah, it's interesting. I think, speaking about relations and toxicity and etc. And more importantly, Meena, what I liked is the fact that how do we deal with it?
Mm.
Even the parent child scenario, I think, was very
Yes.
important, you
Yes.
know, and not just talk about the third person like
Yeah.
uncle and aunt,
Exactly.
as
Yeah.
like that thing came about with respect to parenthood,
Yeah.
because that's also relationship, no?
Yes. Yes.
Even for a child, I'm a relative as a
Yeah.
father.
Yeah.
And one of the takeaways is spend time, whether during cricket, during studies, during whatever, watching a movie. Okay, you're watching a movie with the kid, but after the movie, don't just spend time. Ask, how was it? What did you feel? Why do you didn't like him? Because in that process, the bonding happens. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think the more the bonding happens, you can stand up for, you know, you can be the protector for your children as well, whenever they need that kind of protection.
Yeah.
I think my fatherhood is coming too much. It was Happy Father's Day, no, yesterday.
So on that
So
note, I think we can close this session. Mayur, as usual, it's very fun session
yeah,
where
yeah,
you are serious as well. You're not. You also bring in a lot of humor. So
yeah.
thank you
I'm
for that.
serious. I'm serious with a smile, and I accuse you in a good way to have started that with the 3 days. I'm after the session. It's very interesting what you said. The comparison.
Because a lot of
So,
things come out, Mayur, by that time.
no,
That's what
that's true.
happens.
It's true.
Mm.
And why do we do these sessions, Meena? Why do I really want to come to these sessions? Is it's not about solutions through these sessions. It's about awakening
Yeah.
of thought processes. Sometimes we need to refresh our thinking process.
Yes. Yes.
That's why satsangs are important.
Yeah.
That's why meeting a guru is important. That's why
Yeah.
reading positive books are important, because it refreshes you. Yeah. And
Yeah.
yes, keep coming here, sir. Of course I do, bro. I do. It's just that I was a little tied up, and with your best wishes, I would love to be more tied up. But I think I should find space to have a laptop and, you know, and do like what I am right now. I'm not even at my place, but this place seems to be better. Maybe I should keep coming here for my sessions.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I'll see all of you viewers. And Meena, thanks again. And hopefully, we'll have another
Yeah.
interesting subject, very practical subject. And before I conclude with a prayer, if you don't
Mm.
mind, I
Yeah. So
just want
just
to
one
request.
point before you start your
Sure, sure.
prayer. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
So the
yes.
one point that we all come back to, viewers, is that have faith in yourself, selves, and build up a strong, core where nothing can touch you. Only Lord
Yes.
Shiva, can touch you. Nobody else.
Har Har Mahadev.
Yes, please continue.
Yeah. So I'll just say a prayer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just 1 second. Hmm. Om Shiva Shaktya Yukto Yadi Bhavati Shakta Prabhavitum Nache Devam Devo न खलु कुशलस्पन्दितुमपि अतस्त्वामाराध्याम् Harihara virincha dibhirapi pranautum stotum va kathamakrita punya prabhavati. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you. A small request to Meena, you and all of you watching. Please support us, right, Meena,
Yes,
in our
yes.
channel, and also spread the word. And do follow me on Instagram. It's if you don't mind, Meena, I'm just plugging my
No,
Insta
please,
handle as
please,
well.
please, please.
It's Mayur Author Trainer. That's my name, and Author Trainer, one word. And I keep putting different stuff. Meena, I think we are now connected. So spirituality also has different aspects of personality.
See,
So I
it's
request.
Mayur.
Yeah, yeah,
See, what's most important is that we grow together.
yeah.
You see, what you're
True.
doing and what I'm doing, is exactly that. See, because the more you flourish,
Yeah,
a lot of people learn from your words. They get educated. They become
yeah,
spiritual. At least from whatever they hear
yeah.
from me, at least they learn the truth about what's happening.
I have to say this before I
Yeah,
leave is my mother still sometimes wonders where do you get these all thoughts from? And I'm not
yeah,
again boasting at all, please, because I don't prepare like that. So I'm sometimes the TV is on, I'm watching, but I'm not watching. Something is going on. Then suddenly I get up and I start putting those points. Suddenly I'll get up and I'll start doing my spray paint because this all the time I've been not watching TV, I've been
yeah,
painting in my mind. Even
yeah,
here, when I had to read the topic you WhatsApp Meena,
yeah,
I kept
yeah,
reading it 3, 4 times. I kept reading it and it got formed. But the best is I don't do over shaping of it. Thanks
yeah,
to people like you and Kartiks and Anuradhas and everybody, it makes it easy for me to also open up. And so
yeah.
I feel excited and I hope to see you soon. All the best. Thanks, Meena, for having me once again. And do
Great.
follow me on Instagram. Bye bye.
Yeah, thank you. Good night.
Bye. See you. Good
Bye.
night. Good
Bye.
night. Bye, everybody. See you.